Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name is Bobby Waldron and welcome to episode 7 of the Phantom build. In this episode we're going to be showing you the final steps of our cockpit, which we just bring you in here. You know, this is all basically nice and done. All our ejector seats, all our instrument display panels are in. We've given it a nice matte coat, glued it all together. We've nicely glossed up all our dials and everything. We've also nicely jumped in and we've done all the cutting and everything required to get these exhausts to actually nicely fit just in here as well, which they don't look like they fit. I know people have said they don't fit, and I know some people have said use the actual parts that you get with the kit. But if we follow this guide of cutting them and everything, we all get it to fit. So it's time to shut up and paint. So now we want to cut out these films quite sort of nice and easy. I mean, you don't have to stick to the edge absolutely perfectly cutting around this, just so as you kind of keep all the dials in. So it is almost like cutting out a deck, or just nicely start to cut along it like so and work your way all the way around. I'll do that off camera because trying to keep you on camera and doing that, and you need to sort of cut it quite neatly. Just getting our instrument display panel, just getting it off of this bit of Tamiya masking tape. I mean, I want to sort of be careful because we've like sprayed on it, it's sort of stuck down a little bit, so I'm just getting my blade underneath it, because you don't want to do any nasty sort of bending. This has actually stuck quite a bit. Alright, maybe if you ever do stuff like this, kind of make it a lot less tacky than I did, by sort of you kind of put it on the back of your hand and sort of make the masking tape less tacky. And as you can see, just kind of just sliding it under very carefully, it'll just eventually sort of nicely pop up. So we've got this nice instrument display panel here, looking, to bring you in and focus, looking sort of pretty good. Then we've cut out our dials, our little film that goes on the back, and plain and simply this, you want to get it to just nicely line up and show all the dials coming through, a bit like so. Now what we're going to be using here is sort of very carefully, I like to just get a film of micro crystal clear. We don't want to put it on too thick because it doesn't need like a lot of glue, and if you have too much of it, you're not going to be able to see the dials come through to be able to line it up nicely. So just getting a paintbrush, I'm just going to just paint this on, but actually try and sort of just get it so it's a nice thin film, right? Not thick like, you can, I'm trying to get you on camera and do this, sorry. Not thick like that, but just to sort of brush it on, get it sort of all over the place, but then maybe sort of, maybe wipe your paintbrush so you got no glue on it, and then come back to it and just sort of like clean it up. So it's got a bit of transparency to it so you can still see the dials. We'll clean it up a little bit better later. I just want to be able to sort of see, to be able to place it right. And then this is where we take our photo etch part, and just for now we can just sort of place it down onto it like so. That's just to kind of get it sort of on there. And then this is where we can, from the back side, start to maneuver this, right? Just sort of pushing it from the back and just making sure it all lines up, right? Which I'll do off camera because it's a bit tricky to keep you on camera and try and do that, but that's kind of looking close. But I'll just do that little micro movements just to get it just right and have them all nicely lined up. So I've now got that all just nicely lined up. So what I'm also going to do, I mean, it doesn't quite need it, because if you put a nice film of this micro crystal clear down, you don't really need to. But cotton wool bud, if you do happen to have any sort of oozed out bits of microcrystal clear, you want to sort of just kind of dab them up inside those instrument display panels, maybe around the edges, clean them all up. But you know, I'll put a nice film on so I don't need to, and because I know it's microcrystal clear, I know it's going to dry crystal clear, so I ain't worried about the glue being on the actual dials. So what we're going to do now is we need to glue this to this area just on here. I do want to show you again other ways of actually sort of gluing these things down. So another glue that I like to use when it comes to photo etch, right, is prick stick. Good old prick stick, right? I do like this because it's just it does have quite a bit of tack from the start, so you know, you haven't got a sort of, you know, microcrystal clear, you kind of try and put some photo etch down and it sort of needs a bit of time to tack. You know, prick stick does seem to tack down pretty quickly, and you can just kind of like brush on a nice film. If I just get a cocktail stick, I like to just sort of smear off, let's bring you out a bit, I just like to smear off a bit of this prick stick. Although mine normally sort of dry up a bit, so this isn't actually ideal, but you know, I'll just show you anyway. Oh, that's alright, that's a nice bit of gooey stuff. Right, and what we could do is, say this part here, we can just, again, just brush on, get you to focus, there we go, get you to sort of brush on a nice little bit there. Right, and we can get our bit of photo etch that we've got here. Right, and it just tacks down pretty quickly, as you can see there. I mean, you know, that's down pretty quickly. I just need to now just line that up. Right, maybe come in with a cotton wool bud, get up any sort of oozed out bits of prick stick, right, and then just line it up. You've got time to nicely line it up, getting in position. Right, and then we can just nicely leave that to dry, and I can do the same with our bigger piece just here. So there's our instrument display panel, as you can see, looking pretty cool with all that photo etch and the film and everything going on there, and the weathering just nicely, really nicely brings that out. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mattify everything, because you know, everything's a bit glossy and stuff from doing the weathering. I like to use Winsor & Newton's matte UV varnish. You know, I do find, I mean, I know it's for art, it's not for hobbying, but you know, a lot of things you can use for hobby that isn't meant for it, and this is just a nice 50-50 mix with homebrew thinners. Alright, always give it a good shake before you actually use it. Nice little paintbrush, cracky little paintbrushes I like to use just to, you know, just nicely mix this up in the colour cup. Alright, put it in a pot over there, and it's a simple case getting all the pieces, right, and we want to just give it a nice light matte coat. Right, I do like to start off with a light, always a nice light misty coat. It just helps everything sort of stick. It's just quick, it's easy, you can cut to air pretty quickly, dry it off, and then you do light coats. With airbrushing, a light coat is where you basically start to see the paint look a little bit wet on whatever piece you're doing, and you want to just move along after that, right? You don't want to be sort of spraying something that's looking wet and continue to spray it so it pulls up and you get sort of blobs of, like, you know, spray paint everywhere, and then just do those nice light coats, and do, maybe it's normally about 2 coats should probably do it, and you'll start to see things matte up. So you know, hopefully you can see that this is starting to get a little bit matty on the left, and the one on the right is still a little bit sort of shiny. You keep going till you've got a nice matte finish, and yes, even our bits of photo etch we've done here, we'll gloss them up in a bit. So we're now all mattified up just here, which just kind of sort of almost finishes it off. But we want to sort of, our instrument display panels, we have our nice little dials in there. There should be sort of glass, so we want to sort of gloss them up. Now the matte UV varnish, I mean, it's going to probably take, you know, it's sort of dry after like sort of pretty much spraying it, but it'll be a little bit tacky for maybe 20 minutes or something. So just give it a little bit of drying time. Now the Gayuzi agent that we're going to use here is a nice product by AK Interactive. I do find, you know, for those of you who like to dip stuff, it's good for that, but it does really give you a nice glossy finish, although the pots can sort of get a bit hard to open. Alright, so I'm just carefully opening this. Just using a nice pointy paintbrush because we've got to sort of get as accurate as we can with this. Alright, and what we're going to do is hopefully use the capillary action of our Gayuzi agent here to basically sort of paint this in. So getting a nice dial here, we don't want sort of big blobs on the paintbrush, but we want to have enough on there, and we're just now going to sort of just, you know, try and paint in there and hopefully let the capillary action do most of the work. There we go. So it's almost kind of like dab in there and just let it sort of flow around, and as you can see, it starts to paint those dials in. We've got even this big one just up here as well, which should be nice and easy, but we kind of try and dab it and sort of try and sort of let the capillary action do the work. Alright, so I'm not like trying to paint a perfect circle, but you've got to sort of help it along a little bit here and there, and then hopefully you can see there we've got a nicely painted in couple of dials. So it's just going around doing all these dials, and that should sort of bring it out that last little bit, ready to just finally glue this all together. Well then, so there we are, basically all done now. We're just gluing this together. I just thought I'd just show you this cockpit out of the actual aircraft, because I mean this is probably the last time we're going to get to sort of see this. The ejector seats I've not glued in. We want to sort of leave them out. They're going to potentially sort of get knocked and scratched if we glue them in, so you know, we do want to take them out and glue them in right at the end. Hopefully you can see all the nice dials in there as well. They're sort of looking a bit sort of nice and shiny. Now the glue, I mean really we're just using normal super glue here, which I've just put on a little pot here just to hold it. Now when gluing these down, we don't need to go mental and have loads and loads and loads of glue. You know, I'm just putting them in just 3 little places, alright, just like so, and we can just nicely glue that in. That should be absolutely fine. It is super glue, so we do want to sort of get it positioned pretty sort of quickly in the exact place that it needs to be and get it down ASAP. There we go. Just quickly pop that in, hold it down and let that just nicely glue into place. Right, so that should be all pretty good, and there's basically the cockpit completed. I have also left out our joystick here because that just always breaks on me. Even the little sort of heads up display there, leave that off. We'll kind of do that sort of as the last minute possible because that always breaks off as well, and probably not such a bad idea to maybe just quickly do a sort of test fit just to make sure it is still all fitting, and then we'll move on to I think really we need to sort of look into this back exhaust area here because I think there were supposed to be problems with that. I'm going to look at that and see how we sort of get all that together, and then we can sort of tackle putting this together and tackle all the filling that we're going to probably have to do just along this area just here. So I've done some messing about and I've managed to sort of save our resin exhaust here and get them actually fitting, because there was a problem with this. It was sort of shall we say just kind of like sticking out. I'll sort of maybe sort of show you a bit here. You could sort of see this is what it was basically doing. It was just popping out that little bit and just really sort of not having a good size fit, but there is a way around it. So I've just got to sort of show you where you need to cut to do this. By the way, I mean these, you know, same sort of procedure, you know, get them cleaned up and everything. We've got all sorts of razor saws that I've already shown you where we can sort of cut these out. No sort of big deal. Right, but first off, you can sort of see if we bring these two together what needs to go. Well, first off, I mean the instructions do actually show that these does need to be cut out just along there, just quite nicely there. What we also need to do is, there is this little bit that's sticking out just here. This just needs to have that sort of sharp ledge just there cut all out. Right, so it's looking something like this. It's a little bit tricky to cut out, but I'll show you in a sec. Then the sort of the main bit here is going to be, you know, cutting this area out just here. So we are basically removing, if I just show you just now, we need to remove this bit just here, like so, and then it's literally kind of coming up to here, oops, coming up to here, and then we just need to cut this out. So we're getting rid of all of that there. We get rid of that and it does start to nicely fit. So to do that, I mean, it's a little bit sort of tricky, so I will sort of show you. I mean, this bit here, not so bad. I mean, we could come in with, say, a razor saw, right, and we just sort of, you know, try and get this part across here cut out just nicely, like so, and all the way along, and then you can just come along just to sort of get rid of most of it, right, and just sort of carefully sort of cut along here without sort of, as you can see, I've, you know, you can see like a little mark there. You don't want it to sort of ruin, you know, the surface detail just here, but go along there, not too close, as I've kind of done there. Sort of, maybe you might want to leave like a bit of a mill gap, and then slowly trim it. So I'll just do that. So now with that sort of mainly sort of cut away, you know, you do want it to be flush, you know. I mean, there's a little bit left over there. I mean, you know, probably with a blade, I just kind of, you know, got rid of most of it as flush as you can get with a blade, but then, you know, coming in with a sanding stick and just keep going until that is all nice and flush, you know, just like I've done just there. That's nice and now flush there, which allows the tube part of our exhaust to kind of be able to sort of go in there and sort of sit a bit better. This just gets in the way just slightly, so coming in with cutters, it's a little bit tricky to get your cutters in here, right? So I'll just kind of just at an angle, just kind of just clipping at this, right, just to quickly do it. You know, we could come in with a sanding stick, but it'll take a bit longer, but just kind of coming in like so, you can just try and get rid of most of it. You just need to get rid of that edge, right, and then, yeah, you know, you can tidy it all up and, you know, sand the rest of that back. So that's quite quick and easy, and you want to get it to about that. As you can see, there's a little sort of hole there. I'm going to be covering my sort of, like, some, I don't know what goes in there, but you know, there's like a panel that goes on there. I'm going to cover mine up, but if you wanted to keep yours, maybe just cut that a little bit neater than what I did. The next thing is to remove all of this. Little bit tricky. We're going to come in straight away with the good old razor saw, and with this we're just going to start our first cut just here, and that has gone through that nicely already. You know, this bit here I'll probably do with some cutters, right? Now we want to get it so it is, you know, I mean, what's that, maybe about 2 or 3 mil, right? That's how much we want to sort of cut it. So I'm probably going to cut that, maybe try and be careful and sort of really sort of maybe come quite a bit away from it. You know, so we're like maybe 5 or 6 mil from where we want to be, and that's just cut there. Then good old P cutter. This is a good way of cutting stuff. We can just sort of follow this line, right, and just start to shave away at it, right, starting off nice and light just to get your trench going, get a line going. And then after that you should be able to follow it, and we can turn it around and sort of work the other way as well, and you just slowly cut away until you sort of break through and it should start coming off. So we're almost there now with this, so I'm just going to come in with some cutters and just sort of, you know, cut into this a little bit here and there. Right, once you've removed most of the plastic, you can kind of just nicely slice away at this, being very careful. Now I'm getting up to the point where I need to be, so you know, probably a bit of blade work now, where I'm probably just going to sort of take that and we can just slice these all away. But I'm probably just now going to, you know, I just kind of do like nice thin little slices. Right, this is all just going to be blade work now, getting it to sort of a nice point. As you can see, we've got all these little slices, and then if I come in this way, we cut them all off. Right, and it's just kind of like now sort of getting this, you know, trimmed up all nice and straight. Get it quite square. Right, and then just need to go a little bit more further, because as I say, we want to have, it's about, you know, just maybe 2 or 3 mil is what we want left. So I'm just going to slowly just kind of keep slicing away at this until we get to the right depth. Right, and then that should be then sort of fitting quite nicely. So I haven't quite got all the way, but if I just sort of get this out to show you now, right, as well as have a nice bottom piece here also. Right, what should hopefully happen now is that this should slide in there, which means I don't think we're going to need to glue this in. Right, but that does fit a lot better. Right, I think we've got a little bit more cutting to do in here, but we definitely haven't got that big sort of lip going on. Hopefully, as you can see, that's pretty much all gone. A little bit more touching up and it all just fits nicely. So that is basically the exhaust now all in, and as you could sort of see, we can just, you know, slot it in and slot it out. So that's something we can kind of leave those, glue this all together, we can paint it all and everything, you know, paint, spray our exhaust separately, maybe at the end or something, and at the end we can just like slot them in, no problem at all, which is, you know, probably the easy way of going about it rather than gluing it all in now and stuff. It just makes spraying that little bit easier. So the good news is now is the cockpit's all good to fit, our exhausts are all good to fit, so we're ready for next episode, episode number 8, where we should be actually bringing our 2 fuselage halves together, having our cockpit glued in, and start tackling this nasty gappage that we're going to be having just here, which is going to be a bit of a nightmare. It's going to be a bit tricky. We've got to be careful with all this detail because we're going to be doing filling, sanding, scribing. You know, there's a few little techniques to sort of get that in just nicely, and you know, once that's done, I mean, you know, we're kind of just going through normally with a normal model. Really, the hard part of doing these resin cockpits and everything is getting them done, getting them fitted, looking good, and then you're away as a normal sort of model. So hopefully you'll be around for episode 8. But as always, until next time, my name's Bob Waldron, this is Genesis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.